Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Mad Hatter Radio, reporting live from the upside down world. This go around, I want to talk about some news that just broke out from Sean Penn. Sean Penn is discussing the Me Too movement, and all the headlines are out, and they're basically putting Sean Penn on blast for the most part. A couple of news outlets had a more measured approach to the situation, and of course, most of the liberal outlets are attacking Sean Penn. And I wouldn't be surprised until, the time comes where he's blacklisted from a lot of possibly movies or any other future projects with people. He's going to be blacklisted amongst the fans of Hollywood, fans of movies, television series. The most people who tend to lean left and liberal, they're going to totally go after this guy for basically saying something that in my mind, and I think honestly in a lot of people's minds, was very measured and nuanced, right? So what did Sean Penn say? He says that the spirit of the Me Too movement is to divide men and women. Now, if you read the article and the interview that he talks about, he's not saying that the whole Me Too movement is a bad thing. What he's insinuating is that the spirit of it, there's a certain segment of it that is really to divide both of us. And notice what he said. He didn't say it's just to attack men, because that would have been one thing if he said that. He said it's trying to attack men and women, essentially. It's trying to split us up. And I would tend to agree with that. So here's what he said in the interview, I believe on the Today Show, for his new television series. What is that television series called? It's called The First. It's on Hulu, and it's with actress Natasha, I'm probably saying this wrong, McElhone. And this is what he says. He says that this is a movement that was largely shouldered by a kind of receptacle of the salacious. Kind of weird way of putting that, but let's go forward. He says, well, we don't know what's a fact in many of the cases. Salacious is as soon as you call something a movement that is really a series of many individual accusers, victims, accusations, some of which are unfounded. The spirit of much of what has been the Me Too movement is to divide men and women. And then the co-host responds and says, well, wouldn't you say, the co-host, says that women would say that it's uniting women, to where Penn responds to say, quote, I'm going to say that women that I talk to, not in front of the camera, that I listen to, of all walks of life, that there's a common sense that is not represented at all in the discussion when it comes to the media discussion of it. The discussion where if Sean Penn says this, so-and-so goes to attack him for saying this because of that. He went on to say, quote, I don't want it to be a trend, and I'm very suspicious of a movement that gets glommed onto, in a great stridency of rage and without nuance. Even when people try to discuss it in a nuanced way, the nuance itself gets attacked. And this is the last thing he says. He says, I think it's too black and white. In most things that are very important, it's really good to just slow down. Now, I'm already on Twitter and I'm looking online, and of course, everyone's all the activists are raging on this, right? Because the thing is, we have to remember, activists aren't really here to talk about the facts. They're activists. Although sometimes they do discuss the facts, that's not really their aim or their goal. Just like politicians aren't really there to talk about the facts, they're there to push a certain agenda. But I'm here to look at the facts, and I have plenty of facts that show that what Sean Penn says is very accurate. And I like how he said too that most of the people that I talk to, most of the women that I talk to that are not in front of the camera, have a much more nuanced approach. I mean, you remember what Matt Damon said, how we just can't throw everything together in one pot and then just start accusing people without evidence and saying that they deserve to go to jail. There was a whole thing with Aziz Ansari. We all know that, where it became it was a bad date between a woman and him, but somehow that was turned into maybe he's a rapist, right? And we all know there are differences between rapists, and there are differences between somebody who might have come on too strong, and all different types of different things. Not everything is the same when it comes to sexual assault or these type of allegations. They're not all built the same. So my other issue with the Me Too movement, again, I think the movement started off with the right ideas, but what it's turned into is, it's basically a witch hunt. And I think many people know that now. It's not, what it set out to be. The idea that, women are supposed to be believed no matter what. I mean, come on, man. Like, how ridiculous is that? And I don't care who you are. Nobody is supposed to be believed no matter what. And then to me, some of the women at the top, like Rose McGowan and Asia Argento, they seem to be more focused on revenge or just some sort of like anger as opposed to real justice. And I'm not saying that they don't deserve that, but I'm calling it what it is, right? So some other examples, again, Asia Argento. I mean, look at the two leaders of the movement. Look at what Asia Argento has gone through, and look at how she's brushing that under the rug and not taking any responsibility for it. Obviously, she's not going to, because it's a live case, a live investigation. But she's playing this off in a really horrible way, basically blaming the accused, the accuser. And then, Rose McGowan basically gave her a pass and said we have to tread carefully with her and be gentle. Come on, man. And what about the fake rape cases that recently happened at Sacred Heart University? There was an article that came up recently about a woman who basically ruined the lives of these athletes. She ruined the lives of these athletes because she was afraid that the boy that she was actually into wouldn't like her if she ended up, smashing two black guys. So she lied about it, and she ruined these guys' lives. Has there been any coverage about that from Me Too or anywhere in the media? No. What about recently where a Bronx teacher has been allowed to keep her teaching certificate and avoids jail time for performing oral sex on a 14-year-old boy? Cute white woman, right? No media coverage, and she avoids jail time. Is that fair? Are we talking about the whole story? What about the Smallville actress who's accused of selling kids as sex slaves as a part of a cult? No coverage on this unless you really do some digging online. Me Too's not going to talk about that. And then lastly, where are the discussions about women in Hollywood who specifically use their bodies? They know that they're pretty women. I've heard stories from women who work in the industry, and they can't get certain jobs because there are other women in the industry who are using their sex to get ahead. And of course, there are going to be men who want to see that and who want to use that for their advantage too. But we're not talking about the whole situation. Now, of course, if somebody is in a position of power and you're using sex to manipulate people, that's one thing. But there are plenty of women who use sex to get ahead in this industry, and we're not talking about it. And not saying that necessarily it's a bad or good thing. I don't know. It's human nature. But the fact that we're not discussing it says everything. So I'm going to leave that there. This kind of was a little bit longer than what I wanted it to be. But I wanted to go ahead and get this out there because it's kind of crazy to me what's going on. I want you guys to take a look at it. I'll link the article in the description. Let me know what you guys think. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like this type of content, please subscribe and hit the notifications button so you'll be notified every time I have some new content. Thank you guys for hanging in there and listening to my latest episode. And as always, stay woke.